What's going on, traders? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. Thank you guys again for joining us for another live stream within our Sunday Stock Talk. If you guys are joining us for the first time and don't know what this Sunday Stock Talk is, I'm pretty much going to be talking and recapping on last week's trading since the market's open Monday through Friday. In a sense, today's Sunday, so that's why we have it today. We pretty much just prepare for this upcoming week, so we kind of talk about what to look out for. I performed a series of technical analysis based on your guys' requests within the TechBot Solutions platform. So to make, in a sense, the stocks that you guys pick relevant, a couple hours ago, I asked you guys what stocks would you guys like me to analyze for this week's Sunday Stock Talk or for today's Sunday Stock Talk. And I got a series of different options. And then within this live chat, if you guys are joining us live, feel free to put in some suggestions, just not right now because I'm not going to be looking at it. But just give me a couple minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and get started when it comes to the technical analysis portion. Right now, what I wanted to do was take advantage of this time while we get people to start joining us to answer some of the questions that you guys might have when it comes to, not technical analysis when it comes to trading, but any series of questions. It could be aside from trading penny stocks, anything when it comes to investing. I do want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining us. Right now, it's 12:03 a.m. here in San Sebastian, Spain, so it's actually pretty late right now. And then I have a couple things that I'm gonna have to do for work a little bit after. So I don't want to keep you guys here too long. It's gonna be about 30 minutes, and then we should be good to go. So I see a couple of you guys are giving me some suggestions for stocks. Again, let's just wait for that to be in just a little bit. I want to hear you guys ask, or I want to see if you guys have any specific questions when it comes to this upcoming week. Maybe some questions or obstacles that you guys encountered last week. Feel free to put them down in the live stream, in a sense chat. So if I can answer them, if not, then someone else can answer them. A lot of people are asking about DCTH and what caused that huge spike. That's the stock that's being talked about a lot because it came from like 7 cents about like 2 weeks ago or something like that. And it hit highs of 35 cents. So huge growth that itself. I personally never traded it because it doesn't meet my criteria when it comes to trading. So something that I want to start off for those that are watching and for those that are trying to get into trading for the first time, something that I think has really led to my success when it comes to trading is focusing on stock that only meets your criteria, only investing in the sense what it is that you see in the sense potential. And I've noticed that when I choose to trade lower cap stocks, as in more pink sheet stocks like or more like low cap stocks like DCTH, I tend to see more red days than green days, and it's something just based on experience that I've been able to, in a sense, just identify. And I tend to do better with stocks over $1, even better with stocks over $5, just because I'm a little bit more consistent with cutting losses short, locking in profits consistently, and stuff like that. One of the biggest things that we want to make sure that you guys understand when it comes to trading, you never trade based on anyone else's opinion. You only trade in whatever it is that you personally see value in. And if you don't yet know how to identify potential, I do have a series of videos that can help you, in a sense, better guide you. But again, don't just use my content. We have a series of people within YouTube that you can in a sense just watch to see if you can learn from their best practices. But again, if it doesn't make sense to you, don't trade. There's nothing wrong with getting your feet wet. There's a bunch of different ways in how you guys can get started. A great way is through TD Ameritrade. They offer a simulation platform, which means that you can trade with paper money, which is fake money, but you get to trade real stocks with real-time quotes, and it's an amazing experience. If you guys aren't a part of TechBot Solutions already, we have a little bit over 25,000 members now worldwide. And the thing that we do best is we provide a supportive community for both new and experienced traders. And it's just a very welcoming environment. It's a very, in a sense, just clear and simple platform where all we do is we share best practices, we share mistakes, and effort to promote growth. So that's really what we're here for. We're here for you to tell us what you're doing good, tell us what you're doing bad. So the thousands of people that are reading your posts within the Facebook platform simply just learn from your best practices and your mistakes. It's as simple as that. And you continue to help and motivate one another. That's all I ask for you guys. Never trade based on anyone else's opinion, not mine, not anyone. If it doesn't make sense to you, then you shouldn't trade it. So I'm going to start answering some of your guys' questions and then kind of go from there. So again, I do want to thank each and every one of you guys that are joining us. I really do appreciate your time. I do apologize that it's not usually during our normal time of 6:30 Mountain Standard Time, but I usually do that when I'm in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm in San Sebastian, Spain. So if I were to do it at 6:30, it would be like 4 o'clock or something like that here, and I just realistically can't do that, especially because I'm running somewhat of a cold right now. So I do apologize if my voice is a little raspy. Let's see what kind of questions you guys have. So Tavo says, finally, I made it to the live stream. Ricky is a trapper of the century. I appreciate that, man. Well, I'm really glad that you're able to make it to the live stream. I'm glad to have you here. Let's see. Trying to read your guys' questions. Does Robinhood Gold charge an execution fee per share? No, they don't charge anything. All they charge is $6 a month, or depending on what subscription you have with them. And they'll let you trade pre-market and after-market hours. They'll give you somewhat of a margin account, so you can trade with a little bit more money than you have on that account, but you have to have over $2,000, I believe, for that specific margin. And then they also allow you to have that instant value. So if you have like $2,000, let's say, you'll have access to those $2,000 right after you sell, but you are going to be in a sense restricted with that PDT rule. I've made a video talking about Robinhood Gold and everything that it has to offer, so feel free to search for that within my YouTube videos. So it looks like you guys are guiding, is it Kamar, in the right direction? There's a specific topic that you guys are talking about, and then you're saying that it's within our group chats. So yeah, that's what is the best day trading website or platform? Well, the one that I personally really enjoy looking at and the one that I actively use is the TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim platform. I don't specifically use them to execute my trades because they are a little bit more expensive than Fidelity. And Fidelity is the platform that I'm using right now, just because it's very easy to use on my mobile app, and I like how Fidelity, you can set specific alerts that I personally like when it comes to like then they go above EMA or SMA and stuff like that, and that's something that I really enjoy about Fidelity. But when it comes down to an actual platform that I like to analyze my stocks, watch live, and get real-time quotes and alerts, it's TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim 100%. And even if you have a MacBook, which I have one, they offer a free platform. So I actually made a video on how you guys can download that platform for free. And again, it is a video within my YouTube channel. So. I want to make sure that those that are joining us understand one thing, and I stopped really talking about the whole Robinhood thing because I felt like I was promoting like a really bad environment when it came to traders. There's a bunch of people that said they hated it, a bunch of people that said they liked it. Guys, again, I was just talking about my best practices and my own experiences when it came to trading with Robinhood. When I didn't have the over $25,000, which I usually did on that specific account. And I just didn't have a good experience, and I didn't want to continue this $1,000 challenge because of the series of, in a sense, complaints that I was receiving by the thousands of members that we have in the group. And that's why I made the decision to move. In no way for those that are watching and for those that are, in a sense, having a great experience with Robinhood or with whatever brokerage company you guys are choosing to invest in. Again, that is just the platform. That is just a brokerage company that helps you and assists you execute your trade. For this $1,000 challenge, I used it more for the name because Robinhood is kind of like a trending, in a sense, type of company. And I really liked what they were doing. But overall, this $1,000 challenge of growing $1,000 to $20,000 with the power of compounding interest, just an average profit 3 times a week, 5 times, or 3 times a week of 2.34% growth. So every single time you trade of those 3 days within that week, and then 4 times a month will help you grow from $1,000 to $20,000. Doesn't matter if you have Robinhood. It doesn't matter if you have Fidelity. It doesn't matter if you have U-Trader, SureTrader, whatever it is. You guys have to understand that we're not all going to have the same brokerage companies. There's thousands of us, and there's people that are going to be, saying that they love it, and some people are saying that they're going to hate it. I want to make sure that you guys understand one thing, and that's we're here to help one another out, regardless of what brokerage company we're using. I'm going to do my part. I have been again, having a little trouble reaching out to these specific companies while I'm out here. But I'm gonna have my marketing company reach out to these specific, in a sense, um, brokerage companies just to see if we can set up some sort of deal or gateway with for you guys that you guys can make, like, an easy transition, or can get somewhat of a compensation for moving your Robinhood funds over to whatever brokerage company we end up partnering with, if they decide to partner with us. Again, it's not 100%. I feel like we do have a pretty solid following when it comes solely to investing in stocks, so I think that's something that we can leverage. And definitely, if it's something that's going to be beneficial for you guys, it's something that I'm going to want to implement into the technical solutions community. So I hope you guys see value in that, and I hope you guys are excited for that. So what is a good risk? This is by DG Big. It's, what is a good risk slash profit margin to set yourself for? Well, this is something that you have to identify. I'm not here to tell you, what's worth to lock in profits and what's worth to cut losses. I always just talk about the importance in the long run. If you're choosing to make this like a real business, then a lot of you guys aren't starting. You guys have to understand two things. You guys have to understand that right now, a lot of you guys aren't starting with an enormous amount of money. So understanding that your profits that you're going to be locking in with an average of 2 to 3% aren't going to be huge. But in a sense, continuing this power of compounding interest and continuing to grow your account consistently and locking in profits, even if you're starting out with $1,000, 1 year from today, if you hit your quota every single year, within 2 years, you'll be trading with over $40,000. Even more than that, you'll be trading with over like $100,000 minimum, because from 1,000 to 20,000, that takes about 1 year with an average of 2.34% growth. And then from 20,000, it's going to be a little bit different just because of how it scales out. But let's say you end up with $50,000, regardless, within 2 years. You have $50,000 in your brokerage account and you're day trading with that. Locking in 2.34 to 3% profit, that's huge. But you guys, I feel like a lot of people are so caught up in living in the moment, trying to, in a sense, live this certain lifestyle like at this moment, and are willing to put in the hard work for about maybe like a month to 2 months. But then if they don't see necessarily the return that they want, they just give up. And that's something that you guys have to understand. This takes a lot of time, and you have to do it at your own pace. Some people learn quicker than others. And sometimes you have to start with a paper trading account if you don't necessarily have the funds available. But understanding that, when it comes down to like, how much money should I be risking? How much money should I be investing? When should I be locking in profits? When should I be cutting losses? You have to understand with, let's say you have $1,000. What are you okay with physically? I mean, it's realistically, like, when it comes to investing, there's always this form of risk, but it's how you manage that risk that you're going to deal with it. I think I made a very clear video. It was about 2 days ago. And let's see if I can actually pull that one up. But I made it. It's my, not the making of a millionaire that I uploaded this morning, but it's how to make $180 a day. It pretty much just recapped my day trade with FTR, and I talked about how I calculated my risk and how I managed my risk with that specific trade. I think that will be one of the most helpful videos that you guys can understand. I walk you guys through exactly what I saw in FTR. It's a stock that I trade very often. What I knew my risk was, because I bought in at $1.15, and I've traded it multiple times before. I knew where I was going to cut my losses at less than 1%, and I knew my potential for profit was about a little bit more than 5%. So understanding that my potential for profit was more than 5% and my potential for loss was less than 1. For me as an investor, if I'm trading with, let's say, $1,000, me locking in $50 with a risk of $10, that's a risk worth taking. Again, I was trading with more than $1,000, so the return was going to be more. But realistically, like, whatever it is that I was, could have lost, I knew that the risk or the potential to make money on that specific position was worth it for me. So when it comes down to you, it's not how much money, should I be locking in or anything like that. It's when you find a stock that's worth investing in, that you personally see value in, you'll understand where the support, you'll understand where the resistance is, you'll understand where's the good buy, where's the good sell. And by understanding that, the one thing I ask you guys to do is to understand and manage your risk. You guys need to understand, and identify before you jump in, where you're buying and why, where you're selling and why, and where you're going to cut your losses. Those are the three, I think, one of the most important things to make sense of before you jump into a position. The reason why is, and then this is going to be, I'm sorry that I didn't answer too many questions. I'll get back to that, but I want to get into performing some technical analysis. What I want you guys to understand is the biggest thing and the biggest misconception when it comes to trading stocks or investing is that, investing in the stock market, 90% of the people who invest lose money. What's one of the biggest reasons is they trade based on someone else's opinion. And the second is that they don't understand what they're investing in. You as the investor, if you're willing to put forth the work or the time to make sense of a trade, to understand, your position, understand what you're investing in, understand and calculate your margin for risk. How is it that you do that? Well, if you're going into a position, let's say you're going in with $1,000 and understanding that there's a feature called a stop loss. A stop loss means, like, let's say you want to buy a position at $1 and that's where the support is. There's a resistance at $1.10. So making it very simple for you guys. There's a margin of $1 to $1.10, support and resistance. I'm going to buy in closer to the support because that's, in a sense, where the support is. So I'm going to buy in at it. Let's say when it bounces, what I usually wait for is for the bounce. I don't care that it's at the lowest point. I want to buy when it's showing signs of upward momentum. So it already went from $1.10. It went down to $1. And now I'm waiting for it to show signs that it's going to be bouncing back up to $1.10 so I can sell at $1.10. And the way that I do that and the way that I manage my risk and the way that I make sense of my trade is I buy in at $1 and let's say 2 cents. I wait for it to start climbing up. I buy in at $1.02. And right as I get filled, I set a stop loss. When it goes below $1, I will cut my losses. I'm risking 2% on that position. So if I'm trading with $1,000, I'm risking $20 for loss. So overall with those $1,000, I'm really only risking $20. And that is because I know how to manage my risk. And I know realistically, because it previously had a resistance at $1.10, that I will, once it goes above like 105, I could either put a stop loss at 105. So if it goes below 105, I'll at least lock in that 5% profit from $1 to $1.05. And if it continues to climb, then I'll cancel that stop loss and I'll put my limit order at $1.10 and then lock in 10% profit. If you guys aren't familiar with the specific terms of stop loss, limit orders, and market price, then I think you guys just need to do a little bit more homework, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it comes down to, the thousands of members that we have right now are a little bit more advanced when it comes to trading, and use that to your advantage. You guys can ask any questions. We're a networking group. That's why we're here. We're here to help one another out. And simply by asking questions or going through the series of videos that I've made already under the helpful video playlist, I answer all the questions you guys always recommend me to, in a sense, make videos of. And that's why I have this YouTube channel, to answer frequently asked questions. So I hope you guys understand that. And when coming in to this, in a sense, this week of trading, preparing for this week, let this be your best week. And the reason I say that is because I feel like at this specific moment, with how much I've expressed the importance of managing your risk, making sense of your trade, only investing in whatever it is that you see value in, you guys shouldn't be, in a sense, be making these mistakes. Yes, it's okay to, there's like, let's say like the chief investor, he's right now talking about ADES. He's like interested in swing trading plays on ADES. That's great. And that's someone that he's actually a part of TechBud Solutions. And simply what I do is, I use that exposure to, in a sense, add that stock to my watch list. That doesn't mean that I have to trade it. That means I'm simply, when I dedicate 15 to 30 minutes of my day to perform technical analysis and identify potential on series of stocks, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that stock, I'm going to analyze it, see if I personally see value in it. And if I don't, then I'll continue and I'll move on. And I'll try to see if I find a stock that I see value in. And I'm going to do that the night before. So the morning of, during pre-market hours, I can reanalyze the 5 to 10 stocks that I saw value in the day before and see if during pre-market hours they're playing out the way that I thought. And once the market opens, I'm going to set up a plan. We always wait for pullbacks. We always buy in at the bounce. And it's something that I do very consistently. And you guys do so well. And it's not just me. I'm, in a sense, just the face, I guess, of TechBud Solutions. But it's each and every one of you guys that I've learned so much from. And it's because you guys continue to excel in this platform. You guys continue to, show me that not only is what I'm talking about, something that has helped out, a lot of you guys, but it really comes down to the simple understanding of only investing in whatever it is that you see value in. And how can you invest in something by not understanding it and not, in a sense, at least managing your risk? I think that's one of the easiest things to do is you only invest in what you understand, and you create a plan when it comes to wanting to be successful in anything. If you guys don't if you guys don't want to trade penny stocks, that's fine. If you guys don't want to invest in stocks, that's 100% okay. But I can tell you like the best practices that you will learn from this group and the best practices that you will learn from our Tech But Solutions community. It is probably, I think, one of the most beneficial, in a sense, just type of mindsets to have is, planning out your investments long term. When it comes down to, like, let's say I want to make, $500,000 in the next 5 years. How am I going to be able to, save up $500,000? I'll set up a plan that, like, within the next 5 years, I have to save $100,000, and I need to be saving, $8,333, every month. And that comes down to like $363 a day or whatever it is, right? You guys have to understand that with whatever it is that you guys want to achieve, identify, in a sense, the potential. So identify your goal, create a plan. So where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you'll cut your losses, and that's it. So, okay, there's this weird guy. Let's just block him. All right, sorry about that. So thank you guys again. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and start performing these technical analysis based on your guys' suggestions. And that is pretty much it. Let me go ahead and I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. But I hope you guys are as pumped as I am when it comes to this market open. I'm super excited. All right, let's do it. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm seeing. All right. So we're going to go here. We're going to search a pull. So reading charts, HUSA, AMD. All right, let's start with HUSA. Simply what we're going to do is pretty much, again, I'm using the TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim platform for those that are just tuning in. And I'm going to close in right here. Again, the stock is below $1, so it's not necessarily something that I always, I'm super pumped about. And tell me if you guys see this. It looks like HUSA had a previous support at about 57 and then had a previous resistance at 60. And what I mean by that is, it came down, it broke the support, it bounced here at 57, it hit 60, it saw resistance and then started to come back down. Went above 60, didn't hold very well, and then came back down. Barely, it struggled to break above 60. It broke above it, hit highs of 64.99, so 65, which was a previous resistance that it had before. So like we know, like old supports become new resistance levels. So it looks like it used to be like an old support. It becomes a new resistance, so that makes sense. So right now it's trading, it has two margins. So at this specific moment, it looks like it's had one lower before, but realistically, like these are the two that we really care about at this specific moment. The one that's most relevant is the one from 60 cents to the one to 62 cents. Realistically, like yes, it has gone up to like 65. Let's see. So it has gone up to like 65 from 60. So that margin is about 7.63%. But realistically, during aftermarket hours after the volume dies, it looks like it went from 60 to 62, which is about 3%. Isn't huge, but again, you have to calculate what's your risk for loss. So if you understand that, it usually bounces at about like 60 cents and hits a resistance at 62. That margin for profit is about almost 3%. What would be your stop loss? Well, if you're getting at like 0.602, then understand that if it goes below 60, as that's the current support, That's mainly where I'm gonna cut my losses if I choose to go into HUSA. So when I look at analyzing HUSA during pre-market hours, if it holds above 60 cents and it starts to show signs of upward momentum, so again, just focusing on this, and it starts to bounce back up, I guess these candlesticks aren't the best. So as you guys can see, the volume is very low, and this is not necessarily something that I'm going to be trading, but again, it's just based on your guys' opinion that I'm analyzing this one. So as you guys can see, this EMA line starts to show that it's showing signs of upward momentum. It bounced at about 0.6021. So once it starts showing these signs of green candlesticks and it goes above like 65 or 0.605, that's showing that it's moving back up. So let's say I buy in here. I would sell anything around 62. Again, that margin for profit is about 2.57%. So that's enough. That's more than you need for the day when it comes to this $1,000 challenge. But what would be your stop loss? Well, understanding that the support is at 60 cents, if you get in at 0.65 and then you cut your losses here, that's a little bit less than 1%. So is that position worth it? Is that position worth risking for a potential growth of about 2.58? For a potential loss of 0.81%. It really comes down to whatever it is that you see value in. I see that being a valid support. It looks like during pre-market hours, after market hours, it looks like it bounced, so it started to show signs of upward momentum. But again, it's not really. It doesn't really have much volume. I don't like these like just white candlesticks or these white dashes. It's showing very low volume. So it's not necessarily something that I'd invest in, just because if it does end up going below 60, because the volume is so low, I might have trouble, getting my positions filled since there really isn't much volume. And with the average size that I would take on a position, it might be more than the average, and I might actually drive the price down. So I understand the support, I understand the resistance, I understand the risk. It comes down to you as the investor if that risk is worth taking. Now, let's say that it breaks below, 60 cents. Then we simply take a step back, see that it had a previous support at, where is it? Well, okay, we had a previous support at about 57 cents. So if it has a pullback, wait for the bounce. It most likely would bounce based on its history around 57. And once it starts showing signs of upward momentum, I understand that this is the new support. This is the new resistance as new support or old supports become new resistance. And it's as simple as that. So wait for those signs of upward momentum. Buy in anything around or I would buy in anything around 57.5 if I were to choose to trade, HUSA. Sell around 60 as that's the resistance, and cut losses if it goes below 57 as that's the support. But again, only invest in whatever it is that you guys see value in. So AMD. Let's see. AMD has been killing it. Not too sure if you guys saw like a couple days ago. I pretty much called out that it was going to have a pullback. Again, I didn't know 100% that it was going to have a pullback. It just came down to seeing past trends, and those past trends was after this huge drop that it had due to its earnings report. This is AMD, so it's Advanced Micro Devices. It's a company that's partnered with Apple, and it had a huge drop after not meeting its earnings reports. It had a huge rise, and again, like we know, old supports that it had, at $13 become new resistance levels. So it had this huge drop, rode all the way back up to this $13 mark, had a drop again, but didn't drop as low as it previously did. So again, showing signs of upward momentum. Had another nice little spike to above $13, and then again had another drop, and then previously broke, the $13 resistance, and then ended up hitting $14, and is now seeing a pullback. Based on this previous trend, you would expect something of a drop for about like 12.50 if it continues this upward momentum. So I'm waiting for a little bit more of a drop. So that's why you see these little arrows right here. Those are alerts when it continues to drop. But it definitely has some potential for, in a sense, day trading. Just not the one that I necessarily would like. It usually seems within the past 2 days that during the morning it has really nice pullbacks. And those pullbacks are where all the potential is. I mean, that was 7% on Thursday, and then when it had this huge pullback, and since we caught these on the live stream, that had about 5.5%. So during the pullbacks, again, it's all about catching it at the bounce, identifying your support. So if it had a pullback, let's see if we can actually properly identify this. Like, why did it bounce at about, $14? It hit lows of 13.88. Let's see. It's been growing very rapidly, so it has to do, I think, more with like it being oversold or overbought. I'm using the RSI indicator. Um, and when it has these huge drops, it obviously they've been breaking below the RSI, meaning that it's more on the oversold side. So there's like panic sellers and stuff like that. If you guys don't know what that is, but again, don't trade what you guys are not comfortable with. If you guys can't make sense of the trade, then don't trade it. But I personally would not like it. The easiest way I can put it for you guys is, do you guys want to invest in something that's showing, a downward trend like this, or would you guys rather start putting your money into something that starts showing signs of upward momentum, and waiting for the bounce? So it had, yeah, a drop all the way down to 13.90, but it's not until it went above $14 that I personally would have invested into AMD, because that would have shown a solid bounce. So I would have gone in at $14. Based on the previous resistance that it had during pre-market hours, it looked like it had a resistance at 14.50. That's probably where I would have locked in profits. I wasn't going to be 100% sure that it would have hit, 1467, as you never know where it's truly going to hit. It's all about setting up a plan. So it looks like it had a previous resistance again during pre-market hours at 1450. It had a pullback during pre-market hours of 1402. Had all pullback right as the market opened down to 1390. So I would have waited for the bounce. It went above 14. I would have sold at 1450. So that's 3.56% profit. And I would have cut losses if it went below $14. So again, cutting losses short at less than, almost 1/10%, and locking in profits that can bring in, what is that again, 5%, 3%, so 3.59%. But it's how you make sense of a trade. You wait for the bounce. You look before to see previous trends where the previous resistance were, so you could have sold a little bit earlier, whatever it is that you made sense of. To me, it makes sense that there was a resistance at 1450, so that would have been my target sell price, and I would have cut losses if it went below 14. So as the morning approaches, I'm expecting a little bit more of a, well, I guess the pullbacks haven't been as heavy, but I would personally, based on the previous trends, during the mornings, there's been really solid pullbacks, right, during the market open. And then at the end of the day, it ends up rising. Understanding that if this trend continues, as it's not always 100%. Once the market opens, once it sees a pullback, and then it starts to show signs of upward momentum, set up a plan. Let's say it drops again, and it drops below $14. If it pops up above 14, then I would say, okay, well, I'm going to buy in at 14. I'll cut losses if it goes below 14, as that's showing signs that it's not doing what it previously did, and that's hold above $14 throughout the day. But I'll buy in at 14, and then again, I'll sell at 1450 or 1460 if you want to be a little bit more risky, as it's been showing signs of consistent upward momentum, and the resistance have continued to increase in value, right? So whatever it is that you guys make sense of, again, it comes down to your plan and what it is that you guys see value in. So ATHX. Let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see. So no, it's not Monday. It's we do these Sunday stock talks in a sense to prepare for Monday in the upcoming week. So in a sense, it's just me talking about the overall stocks that you guys want me to analyze. Ricky, now that you're changing brokers, will you be shorting stocks? Most likely not. I'm more of a technical trader, so that's what I, in a sense, try to focus on. Let's see. All right, so ATHX. I don't know. Let's see why this one came out in your guys' radar. So I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. Well, that's probably why. So it looks like it's a huge gapper. It had a huge rise momentum all the way up to 175, as that's the resistance. Had a previous support at 145, and it looks like it's kind of flatlining and trying to hold above 150. It had a previous resistance at 153, and that's pretty funny because that's kind of where it's holding above. So if you guys see that. But it's not in any way showing signs of upward momentum. It's if anything, it's starting to show that it's flatlining. But something that I'd like to see is more of an upward trend with this EMA line. to show that it's trending back up. Because if not, then why would you want to invest? Like, I understand those that invested in this, although I personally probably wouldn't have, just because it doesn't look like there's any real news that came out. Um, It could have, again, I don't know anything about this company, so I'm just analyzing it because you guys suggested it. But this could have been due to hype, could have been due to manipulation. And I don't invest in stocks I don't understand on why they're being hyped up. But again, it makes more sense to invest in something that's showing signs of upward momentum than to invest in something that, because it previously showed a lot of potential, and now that it's starting to dip, and because it's at a lower price than it was before, I don't want you guys to think just because it's at a lower price that it's going to go back to where it was, because realistically, you never know what can really happen. Why hope for the best when the whole, when within the past 10 days, everything's telling you that, it's only going to continue to drop back down to the support at 142. It looks like it previously had a support there at 142. So it looks like realistically, margin of profit that it had before was from 142 to the previous resistance that it had here to 153. So that's about 7.48%, which is huge. I mean, that's huge potential. I'm going to go a little bit further back and see what the real, yeah, it looks like it had these previous, wow, that's crazy, support at 140. Overall, it looks like it really just played around 142 and had a resistance at like 150. It looks like it's done that a couple times. So that's a real trend. This is something that it looks like it doesn't do very often. I'm going to take another step back and see. Okay. Well, it looks like if it breaks below 140, it has a pretty solid drop all the way down to what is that, like 110? And then it trades between 110 to 120. So it looks like this is definitely a stock that can be day traded, because once it does have, in a sense, of support, it trades within the certain margin of like, 110, 120, or 140, 150. But then it has these like sudden drops, sudden pops or drops. So be careful with that. That's why it's so important, in a sense, to have a plan. That if you guys do choose to invest in this stock, that you guys have a stop loss set. Realistically, based on this huge spike that it's had before, it looks like it drops back to 140. So due to the spike not being even as large as this one, I would only assume that it's going to come back to 140, if not come back down to, this 110 support. So doesn't mean that you guys can't trade it when it's within 140 to 150. But again, just know that it has broken below 140, so there is that margin for risk. So what's to be, in a sense, suggested is to cut losses when it drops below 140, because it has this margin of profit or margin of loss. And you don't want to write it all the way down, but it does have this margin of profit from 140 to 150. But again, like we know, old supports or old resistance levels become new support levels. So it's as simple as that. So you guys have to understand that it previously had the support at 140, resistance at 150. So right now it's above 150. So therefore, if it bounces at 150, wherever it is, right, let me get a little bit closer, I'm sorry. Wow, that's extremely low volume. Yeah, this is definitely not one that I would be trading. Yeah, it looks like it is holding above 150, and it's trying to show signs of upward momentum, but it hasn't done so yet. And this doesn't really look like, unless it has a lot of volume, it doesn't really look like one that can be very secure. Um, it's just not something that meets my criteria. It's not something that I'm very comfortable with, because I've never traded ATHX before, but I understand why some people might see value in it if it bounces above 150. And I just don't know where the resistance would be, because this is all hype. I can't say that the resistance, I mean, I can say it's at 175, but realistically for it to bounce, 25 cents more from 150 isn't very realistic, because it only does that when there's like huge volume, increases in volume. As you guys can see, all these um, volume charts in the back. But let's see. Yeah, I personally, I would wait more. It makes more sense to me when it's in the 142, 150. I want to ask for your guys' opinion if you guys want to let me know in the live chat. Does it make more sense because it's a more common trend from 142 to 150 to be more of a safer position? or to actually try to get in at the bounce at 150 and try to identify a resistance when you guys are selling it. So I just don't know where the resistance would be, so I can't identify a sell, and that's something that I want to do every single time before I trade. So yeah. ECYT. This is one that I'm going to be talking about due to the potential that I saw in it. But let's see what you guys have to say. Okay, I'll do ABEO for you, Faith. So there we can check out Fit. It's been okay. So I'll check out ABEO and I'll check out Fit after ECYT. ZHD, if you're asking me like what stock you should buy right now, again, I never tell anyone what to buy. If you can't make sense of your trade, and again, I'm not trying to like call you out or anything like that. I really appreciate you asking me, but I want to make sure that if I'm trying to guide you guys in the right direction, that you guys understand that when it comes to trading, when you're asking that question of, what should I be buying right now? That's not necessarily a question that you want to be asking, because if don't personally you personally as the investor see value in anything, then you shouldn't be investing in it. You should never be trading based on anyone else's opinion. All I ask you, for Z and for everyone else that's asking that specific question, is to dedicate a little bit more time in growing your watch list, which I have a video on how we grow our watch list. Identifying potential. You can learn from me on how I identify potential, but don't just limit yourself to me. I mean, there's so many different people that share their best practices within our community and within YouTube that you can learn from them on how they trade and see if their way or their style of trading is useful for you. And then learn how to manage your risk. So knowing where to buy, knowing where to sell, and knowing the importance of cutting losses, in a sense, to always stay in the green. And I think understanding that rather than telling you what to trade, you need to understand that it's not about me telling you what to trade, but that you personally understand, the risk when investing in these certain stocks. So I hope, in a sense, you see the value in that and why I'm not telling you what to trade. So the reason that I started talking about it, ECYT, was it had just consistent upward momentum from literally like the day that I sold it. So I ended up selling it like at 155, and then ever since then, let me go a little bit further back. Now let me go a little bit further back. I want to focus in this area right here. So again, hear me out on this one and see if you guys see what it is that I'm talking about. Overall, if you guys saw ECYT, it's had a pretty solid drop all the way down from what it previously resistance that it had around 260. It had a huge drop all the way down to 150. That was the overall lows that it had. And then it was making its way back up, hit a resistance at 170, and then had a nice little drop all the way back up to 150. I was talking to my friend Barry and I think my friend John on my position on ECYT when I bought in back again at 150. And I'm going to talk to you guys on why I bought in back at 150 and why it made sense to me. So overall, I understood that. Let me get a little bit closer. I understood that overall within the past couple of days, the 20 days, it's held above $1.50 and it's had a decent resistance at $1.60, right? Support resistance. Yes, it's hit highs of 170, but realistically, I would have to hold this for a couple days to even get from 150 to 170, which isn't going to be worth it for me because I don't hold a penny stock overnight, and that's just one of my rules. Something I did see value in was that, look, I understand that 150 is a valid support because that's previously where it's bounced before. It's held above 150. So when it came back and it approached 150, when my alert went off and it went below 155, I instantly went back, saw if it broke the support at 150, and it did not. It held above 150. I bought in at 151 and ended up hitting highs of 156. So therefore, I understood that the 150 support was still valid. The resistance that it previously had at around 155 to 156 was still valid, and that my margin for loss was less than 1%. I bought in at 151, and the reason I bought in at 151 and not 150 was because it doesn't matter to me to get at the lowest price. That's not necessarily what I'm most worried about. What I want to be focused on is getting in, making sure that it's showing signs of upward momentum. So again, understanding that the support is at 150, understanding that, oh shoot, stick, what the heck? That was frustrating. Understanding that the resistance is around 156. So my margin for profit from 150 to 156 was 3.37%. And if I got in at 150 and I cut my losses, if it goes below 150, it's less than 1%. So again, my potential for profit is more than 3%. My potential for loss is less than 1%. And based on previous trends, it's held above 150. So based on previous trends, 150 would, in a sense, identify itself to be a good buy. But I didn't just hope that 150 was a good buy. I made sure that it started to bounce back up. I bought in at 151, and then it started trending back up to 156. So because I was able to, in a sense, calculate and manage my risk to less than 1%, my potential for profit was greater than 3%. That's why I found ECYT to be, in a sense, a stock worth investing in, because I saw that the supports were still valid, the resistance were still valid, the risk was worth it because the potential for loss wasn't as great as the potential for profit. And that was as simple as that. And I want to ask you guys, does that make sense to you? That's really just it. I mean, I know it's really boring, and you guys probably don't want to hear me do this for every single stock, but that's all I do, guys. That's all I do about like calculating risk, see if it's worth it. Like with these huge breakout stocks, like this is great, but it's just not something that I'm extremely comfortable with because I'm more of a technical trader. I mean, this stock used to trade at 60 cents. All those that were asking about ABEO. It used to trade at 62 cents, resistance at about 70, broke that 70 resistance, and then resistance at 74, and then all of a sudden had a huge rise up to 138. Like, why? I really want to hear why. Like, I don't know anything. Let's see. Okay, so it's based on use because it has a new target sell price at around $2. But realistically, for a stock that was trading below $1, am I gonna try to buy in right now? Well, I can see that there was a previous, in a sense, there's a support at around 114. There's a resistance at around 120. It broke above that resistance at 120. Hit a resistance at 130. So there's this margin, right? There's this potential from 120 to 130 and from 115 or 114 to 120. But realistically, I just think it's way overhyped. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be selling once the market opens because this hype and this news is not going to be as relevant, and it's most likely going to slowly start, downward staircasing back to where it previously traded. That's why I personally wouldn't invest in ABEO. It's just too much hype and it's too much of an increase, and it's not something that I usually trade. It doesn't mean that you guys can't trade it. If you guys see value in it, if you guys can identify a good buy, a good sell, where you would cut your losses and manage your risk, then guys, you guys are the investor and you guys should be trading whatever it is that you guys see value in. It's as simple as that. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I probably wouldn't. Fit right now looks like it's actually my friend um, Barry Henderson actually called me or sent me a text message on this specific stock. He's more of a swing trader, so I see why why you brought this up for a swing trade. If I'm not mistaken, it had a pretty solid drop. Yeah, it's been on a consistent, almost downward trend. It looks like there's a pretty solid support at 490, almost $5. And I mean, as a swing trade, it's just not really showing, I think, the signs that I would want for a long swing trade hold, or long-term hold. It is showing somewhat of a bounce or a hold above $5. But again, when it comes to trading, there's always this form of risk. So if you're willing to, I think it's kind of way overpriced right now for 515. And with the support at $5, I would personally still cut losses. But yeah, I would cut losses if it goes below $5. I would buy in closer to $5, and if I can, lock in some profits at like 520, I just don't even know if that risk is worth it. It's like almost 3%. Does it do that within a day? Yeah, 490 to 515. That's 5%. So yeah, it's done a couple of decent positions or moves that could have been day trades that would have been decent. So yeah, it does. But with the low points and high points throughout the day, it's just capturing at the lowest points, capturing it at the bounce. and then selling at the resistance when the RSI indicators show that it's kind of oversold, and it's showing that it's oversold right now. So I'd say $5 would be a better buy for myself. 515 seems to be a pretty solid resistance around 515 and 520. So it's a good catch. So I thank you for telling me. I'll actually add this one to my watch list. Actually, I already have it in my watch list. But yeah, good call. Support, resistance, cut losses, buy at the bounce, sell at the resistance, RSI indicators. But again, if it makes sense to you, then go ahead and invest in whatever it is that you guys see value in. But that's really just it. I want to hear what you guys had to say about the other thing. Okay, I think you guys are giving me some feedback saying this is by Anchors and Anvil Studio. It says it's definitely insightful and not boring at all. Um, and then they asked me about VSLR. So go ahead, and if you're a part of TechBud Solutions, Anchors, and Anvils, direct message me and I'll perform a technical analysis personally for you. But again, I do these live streams so I can perform some technical analysis on some stocks that you guys asked me for. But for those that aren't asking these questions, all I did was I put a poll option, and those that wanted me to perform a series of technical analysis, all they had to do was they, put their own stock out there, and then I just picked the top 5 stocks, and that's all it really comes down to. But the reason I do these live streams is so you guys could see my whole thought process when I analyze stocks, see what it is that I do to identify potential, manage my risk, and plan out my trades, because that's what I want you guys to focus on. I don't want you guys to, in a sense, continue asking that question on, there's nothing wrong with asking for a second opinion, but for you to be the final decision maker on whatever it is that you guys are investing in has to be what you guys have to understand. You should never trade based on anyone else's opinion and never invest in what you don't understand. I'm going to continue to repeat this until you guys stop asking, because it just doesn't make sense to me how someone can ask, should I invest in this when that's one of like the biggest, in a sense. I can understand why you guys might be asking. It's because you guys probably don't understand that that's a mistake. And I'm here to tell you that, if someone's telling you to invest in something, you guys have to understand it's like kind of like the stock twits platform. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh no, like you have to invest in DCTH because, whatever of this, whatever, right? That's something that we don't allow within TechBud Solutions, because we're not here to overhype stocks. We're not here to manipulate any specific position, because we know that there's a lot of young individuals that are a part of TechBud Solutions that can be easily, in a sense, manipulated, and that we don't want them to be taken advantage of. This isn't a group where we try to do pump and dumps. This is a group where we share best practices and share mistakes, and I prefer the entire group to learn as a whole. And I hope you guys see the value in that. And I continue to repeat that because you guys there's certain people within the platform that me and the moderators within TechBud Solutions have to continue to dedicate time to block, because you guys think that you guys are going to get through by suggesting certain stocks, and we're always going to continue to block them. Some might get through, but that's why I continue to repeat this. Don't fall into the hype. Don't invest in, what you don't understand, and only invest in what you, in a sense, can manage by calculating your risk and making sense of your trade and making sure that it's worth your hard-earned money. Even if it's $10, even if it's $1, or even if it's $50,000, whatever it is that you guys are investing in, it's hard-earned money, and I want to make sure that you personally, as the investor, can make sense of your trade. And if you can't, then maybe you just need to dedicate a little bit more time and identifying potential, setting up a plan, and planning out your trades. But that's really all I have for you guys this week. I'm really pumped for this upcoming week for when it comes to trading. I'm in Spain, so I trade at 3 p.m. So I actually trade during the afternoon. It's quite nice not having to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready for my talk. So I really do appreciate that specific thing. But I should be back in the States by the 30th. I'm going to be most likely in LAX, and then I'm going to catch a flight back to California. So I'm excited to get back to work. Yeah, that's really just it. So, Ricky, I got a TechBuds t-shirt and a cap for you, buddy. We don't have any apparel. So, direct message me. What's your Hoover Pacheco? If you're a part of TechBuds Solutions, direct message me. I want to know a little bit more about what you're saying. Um, but yeah, it looks like can we buy a tech t-shirt? So we are working on the apparel for those that are asking. I have my buddy Sergio that's actually managing all of that. And he's one that I think has a pretty nice style, and he's really working on the material and stuff like that. I'm not very stylish, as you guys can see. I wear almost the same thing every day, or at least I have the same type of layout of clothing. My girlfriend laughs because she knows it's true. Um, but I'm not very trendy. I really just like comfortable clothing, so I'll put that into, in a sense, TechBud Solutions. But other than that, I mean, you guys don't want me, in a sense, putting your guys' t-shirts together and stuff like that. So just give us a couple days to get everything put together. I'm working with someone that actually reached out to me within TechBud Solutions that came up with a design that's a that just came up with a design for a specific t-shirt, and now we're going to be ordering some of those t-shirts once I get back. So I'm I'm not gonna invest too much money when it comes to t-shirts because that's not really what we're here for. Um, but because you guys continue to ask that question, um, I'll I'll put some product out there. Just if you guys like it, that'd be great. But if not, then I totally understand. So Hoover Pacheco says, "I make them. I got you." Well, actually, reach out to me. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. So if you can please direct message me within the TechBud Solutions platform and just tell me a little bit more about that. I'd love to get in contact with you. So thank you for asking me that. So I really do appreciate that. Um, But okay, I'm done taking enough of your guys' time. I still have a little bit of work that I have to do when it comes to my rental properties. I have to send out some invoices, so that's going to be fun. But yeah, thank you guys again for everything it is that you guys do. Continue this conversation that you guys are having um, within the TechBud Solutions group chats. And again, the link is provided for you down in the description. You simply just have to have a Facebook account, and then you can ask to join our group. And then on the top pin post, you'll have access to the TechBud Solutions website or TechBud Solutions group chats. So I hope you guys, uh, in a sense, continue having a conversation since I know it's not that late over there in the States. I want to thank you guys again for joining us. And if there's anything else that I can do for you guys, please feel free to direct message me. Just know that I don't have I'm not on my phone all the time here while I'm in Spain. So I might not get back to you as quick as possible, but I do have different moderators within the TechBud Solutions platform. I did want to give a shout out for all those that are watching right now to one of our TechBud Solutions member. He's the one that trades OTC stocks. If you guys want to follow two of the members that I'm, in a sense, trying to help out, or not trying to help out, but that are part of the TechBud Solutions team, Bradley is part of the OTC stocks. He is the group leader within that. So if you guys don't know that, don't know what that is, feel free to subscribe to him. He makes videos on low cap stocks, which are OTC stocks. And then Connor does stocks or videos on breakouts, and they're very knowledgeable about that. They lead the group when it comes to those two specific group chats. So I hope you guys can subscribe to them. And then, since I'm more of a technical trader, Brad's an OTC stock trader, and then Connor is a breakout trader. So those are their specific expertise. So I want to make sure that if I can, in a sense, make videos on those specific topics, then at least I can promote someone that does do well within those specific markets. So thank you guys again so much for joining. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, guys.